I think if you think about being a consultant, you are the only person that is available for delivery as well as everything else. Once something happens in your life, you're in a tough position. I'm not the source of knowledge now. I think that's the biggest shift, right? Because I was the consultant, I was the source of knowledge, I was the trusted expert, so-called, within working with clients in that relationship. Honestly, I've spoken to so many people about hiring, and it's so difficult to get it right. I'd say look out for that personal alignment, because that's gonna make sure somebody actually, turns up to work on time, is dedicated, is very aligned with your mission and what you're trying to do, especially at the early stages of building a company. It's so key. The first few people that you bring in is going to set everything up.
Okay, perfect. We've got Kevin on the Agency Growth Club today. So Kevin, as you can see, is kitted out in his Growthack top and his hat. Kevin, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. How you doing?
Good. So yeah, we just spoke before this for about 10 minutes about the difference between the US and UK and just everything that's in between that. Kind of wish we got some of that on record. But Kevin, for people that don't know you or don't know Growthack, could you give us like a quick intro of kind of what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kevin Kapezi. I'm the director and founder of Growthack.io. We are a specialist SEO agency, if you call it that. We're a small team of 3. And we like to produce award-winning worthy work and go up against the bigger agencies. We like to think of ourselves as a special forces group of individuals. And our philosophy is we always bring in other specialists to help deliver much bigger projects. So if it's a website migration, if it's a rebrand, if it's something bigger than our own specialism, we like to bring in other specialists and work together rather than have a full service offering.
Awesome. And so what I really want to dive in on this podcast is a lot of people message me on LinkedIn that are either freelancers or solo consultants, and they're kind of wanting to go towards kind of what you've done, where you've kind of built your little mini agency now that will hopefully grow as well. So that's kind of the stuff that I want to talk about today. So I've seen on LinkedIn, you've described yourself as the recovering solo consultant who basically used to panic when personal life interfered with work. What was, Kevin, that kind of like, didn't have to be a rock bottom moment, but what was that moment where you were like, okay, I need to put some hires in place and I need to actually build something?
I wouldn't say it was one single moment, but one thing that stands out for sure is when my son was born about a couple of years ago, and it was also in the middle of a massive migration that I was a part of. So at the same time, it was a combination of things. It was like a perfect storm of circumstances. And also at the same time, my co-founder was going through some stuff and he eventually exited the business. So all of these things were happening at the same time. So yeah, it really made me think about, I guess, the business and what I wanted to do going forward. And maybe that could have psychologically or subconsciously made me think about maybe growing the team. I was forced to work with other people that I hadn't worked with before. So I had to get somebody in to manage paid media for some of our clients, because that's what my co-founder did. And I don't do that for our clients. So I had to work with a consultant to help with that. So I had to really move quickly, and also at the same time, just not have a lot of personal time at that period. So I think if you think about being a consultant, you are the only person that is available for delivery as well as everything else. And once something happens in your life, you're in a tough position, and you don't want your clients to suffer. So I think that made me think seriously about what I wanted from this as a business. And I was always in the mind of I didn't want to go back to work for another company. So I thought, okay, I need to make this work, and maybe that was part of the reason why I'm here now.
Awesome. And you mentioned, basically spreading yourself thin. You're trying to bring people in so that you can delegate tasks and get some of your time back, but as well move faster in terms of business objectives. So when it comes to delegation, doesn't matter how big the agency founder I talk to, everybody has struggled with that. Everybody just wants to kind of hang on to those things that they think they're best at. What advice would you give to delegation, and how did you handle that at the start?
I really struggled with that. I'll be honest with you, because I'm so used to being self-reliant and just doing things myself and doing things my own way with work. And I think in general, I'm quite a solo kind of individual. I like to do my own thing. So yeah, that was very difficult at the very start. It's something that I've had to get used to, especially when Glenn's the senior hire, so the first senior hire that we've had. Also hired somebody else and it didn't work out. But yeah, Glenn's the first one that's kind of worked out. And yeah, I can definitely feel from his perspective, he's also, I think, very similar. He's used to doing things himself. So we're very similar. So there might have been a point where we were kind of clashing a little bit, where I'm doing things that he's used to doing himself. So yeah, it was just that transition period of, okay, I can trust you a little more to do certain things. So I'm just going to let you get on with it. And my advice to people is to try and build up that bridge of confidence as teammates, because that's going to happen over time. And maybe there's a way to speed that up. Creating documents in terms of how we work, how we do things. That's something that we weren't good at, I'll say. So just documenting your processes, that might speed up things. And then when somebody comes in, they immediately understand, okay, this is how I do it. This is how they do it the Growthack way, rather than having that period where you're kind of figuring things out. And he's still got his practices that he does, and I've got mine. But saying that, Glenn has brought in a lot of useful practices from his older agency, and we've learned from him. So yeah, there's that period where you're kind of figuring out what he knows and what I know, and trying to get into the middle. And then over time you find out this is what works for us as a team.
Awesome. And just talking about putting in processes and SOPs, I don't know if you've ever heard about the website guide.com. I think it's got 2 Ds. But basically what it is, it's like a Chrome extension. And whenever you're making an SOP, you just hit the Chrome extension. It basically records your whole screen. So like what you're doing, you go and do whatever the SOP is or whatever. And then it adds let's say you use Trello or Asana, puts it in a way where, one, it's got the video, 2, it's got the steps, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like if you're speaking to it, it puts it all in. Like it's like having like a little SOP assistant beside you that's like watching everything you've done, which is crazy. But yeah, I love what you said about delegation. I think it was James Brockbank on the podcast talked about it before, about how much he struggled about it at the start. But then when he realized that if you're happy to train somebody up to get something to the way that you want it 80% of the way, then like that's the win. Like stop. Like the bit that's going to kill you is trying to make it 100% every single time. And again, like there is a lot of perfectionists, especially in the SEO industry, that want to get to that 100%. But yeah, from my own personal experience and from like chatting to a lot of people, if you're trying to strive for that, everything is done the same way, exactly the same way that you'll do it, you're never going to be able to, like, 1, be a good leader, but 2, just have a team that's able to work without you as well.
Definitely. It's not easy. It really helps when you got somebody who's on the same page and is willing to go all the way with you, I'd say, because we've previously tried to hire somebody and it didn't work out. And I later realized, throughout the process, that they were probably joining the company for maybe the wrong reasons and they just weren't aligned. But once you have that alignment, it makes it a whole lot easier. Just having somebody who's coachable and receptive to feedback is such a plus, honestly, because I've seen it on both sides. So as long as somebody's coachable and receptive to feedback, then yeah, it will work. It will work eventually, for sure.
Yeah. As well as that, when somebody's coachable, it becomes fun, because it's not a listen to what I'm saying sort of stuff. It's like you can go back and, like, I don't know about you, but yeah, when you're trying to get people up to speed, when people come back with like a load of different questions or like go and try something out and they bring it back, I actually learn a lot more about whatever it is we're actually talking about. So yeah, I just feel like it's a better way to have a team as well.
Definitely. I've learned so much, honestly. I'm not the source of knowledge now. I think that's the biggest shift, right? Because I was the consultant, I was the source of knowledge, I was the trusted expert, so-called, within working with clients in that relationship. Is trying to trust somebody else to be that source and trusted expert. And yeah, it's not easy, but luckily our clients have been really great, and they've appreciated, I guess, the wider opportunity of having a team, because we're all focused on our own different elements. I'm looking at strategic side of what we're doing, make sure that we're aligned with their business, and Glenn's coming in with his technical knowledge, and then Sarah is working on all this content stuff. He's like a crazy content scientist experimenting with different things. So like he's got deep focus in his area, and we've all got our deep focus areas as well. So that just aligns perfectly, and I think clients have bought into that, which helps as well.
I love that. And I think it was one of your LinkedIn posts recently that you were off ill or something. So obviously when you're a solo consultant, if you're off ill, business is paused. There's no moving forward unless you're trying to type while half dying as well. But what was the one thing that the team kind of handled that really surprised you?
Probably at the start. I'm not too surprised now because they're so good and they just get on with it. Like I wasn't too well on one day this week. I had some trouble with my eye, and they kind of just handled all the meetings like with no problem. And it was more so at the beginning where I was quite surprised that they just managed the meeting without my involvement. So yeah, I'll say that really surprised me, just how they were able to communicate with the client, just manage everything, and the follow-up actions, the emails. Something that Glenn is really good at is doing these weekly update emails, and it's such a simple thing, but because he does it consistently, it kind of alleviates that weird space that you have of communication sometimes with clients where they're just wondering, okay, are they doing anything? What are they doing? What's the follow-up action? It kind of keeps them accountable as well, and they really love that. Just a really short, snappy email, like on a Monday morning, saying, "Hey, this is a weekly update of where we are." And then it makes the meetings a lot easier. So honestly, like I'm really blessed to have great people that I work with, and they just crack on. They know how to project manage or account manage in a really good way, I'd say.
Awesome. I love that. And okay, so you mentioned that you had previously done a hire before that didn't work out. So yeah. I'm sure you lost a lot of time, a lot of momentum, a lot of everything within that. First of all, like, what kind of advice would you give to any, let's say, solo consultant that doesn't want to go through that? What advice would you give to them?
Honestly, I've spoken to so many people about hiring, and it's so difficult to get it right. You can go through all the processes, all the checks, first interview, second interview stage, get references. You can go through all that. Somebody can tick all those boxes, but you don't really know up until the first day that they start working with you how they're actually going to be on the job. And in that scenario, I think I did everything in my power that I possibly could. However, one thing that I'd say, and I've realized this now, we've got a really great hire in Glenn, is Glenn proactively said things that align with his personal values or things that he's working on personally that align very well with us and what we wanted to do in terms of Growthack. So I'd say look out for that personal alignment, because that's going to make sure somebody actually, turns up to work on time, is dedicated, is very aligned with your mission and what you're trying to do, especially at the early stages of building a company. It's so key. The first few people that you bring in is going to set everything up. And I know this word has been thrown around a lot, or this phrase, A players. And if you're hiring B, C, D players at the beginning, if you hire an A player later on down the line, they're going to look at your team and think, "Oh, hang on a minute, this isn't the environment that I wanted to come into." So to build that really good environment, you have to make sure everyone's aligned, and the personal as well as the business alignment is there, because you are so small and you have to like each other every day and build from the ground up.
Yeah, and one thing I always say to people when they're hiring is that the interview process with the candidate is the best it's ever going to be. Like, they're trying to pull out everything they've got on that. So if you've got cold feet, or if you've got any tiny little I think they call them orange flags now, where it's not a red flag or a green flag. But if you've got any of those little things that come up, like you shouldn't be not that you shouldn't be going for that person, but you should definitely like try and go in a bit more and just find out to make sure that there is none of those orange flags. But again, comes back to as well, so many people are panic hiring. So they don't fully sit down, map out exactly the person that they want. And again, like we're in January 2026 now. Like Kevin, I'm sure you sat down and did your yearly plan for what you want Growthack to achieve in 2026. Like the way that you're like speaking and the way that you kind of put those goals down, it's as if like you're already going to hit them, and you're going to come back into Q1 and you're going to assess, did we move forward with this or not? What do we need to change on our strategy? I feel like nobody's the wrong word. A lot of people do not treat hiring as the same thing. They just kind of think, okay, we've got, a new client, 2 new clients have come in, we've got more capacity. I think we might need an SEO manager. I don't really know, but let's start hiring for it. And then, that's when I see from the sideline anyway, things start to break apart.
Definitely. Certainly working with your team has helped for sure. If you have the budget, I mean, you guys aren't the cheapest, but it's definitely a good investment, because all the time, all the effort, and all that hassle, it really pushes you back. So there's that opportunity cost, how much time have you lost with a bad hire, etc. So for sure, like trying to minimize the risk with the new hires is key. and forward planning as well, and then give you a bit more time to get the right hire in.
I told you that before this call, we had a client of ours ring me yesterday on WhatsApp, and basically they've signed their biggest client this week, and the person that's meant to be managing it on the team has turned around and said that they don't want to work anymore. And I think they're a freelancer or a contractor, so like it's not as if it's like a full-time role where they've done that. But awful scenario to be in. But they're like, we need somebody in, like literally, like I was on the phone yesterday, they were like, we need like either a freelancer in tomorrow, but we need to like be thinking about to get somebody in like fully. And again, like, as I just said, when you're panic hiring and everything's like speedy like that, it's a recipe for disaster of just trying to like settle for second best for somebody to come in, and then kind of brings the whole momentum of the team down. But awesome. So Kevin, I've seen again on one of your LinkedIn posts, I think it was, I seen that now that you're not always in the trenches of doing technical audits, you get time to think more about like strategy and delivery, which obviously has come with like being able to have that team. So what kind of big things have you been able to do with that now that you've got the team in place?
We've been able to think a bit bigger in terms of what we're doing as a team. One of the initiatives we wanted to launch last year was server-side tracking for our e-com clients. So server-side tracking essentially means getting better data into performance marketing, especially if you're running ads and if you're selling something online at a high volume. Let's say your business that's generating, $1 million plus a year online selling products, and your GA4 data is only reporting 50-60% of the revenue, which is true. This is the average that we're seeing now. And you're relying on that data to inform your advertising strategy, you're losing out on 40% of the picture. So server-side tracking was a key initiative, because we knew if we get closer to the data, we're able to help clients perform better and be more aligned with their commercial goals, etc. So that's one of the initiatives. So 2 of our major clients now have server-side tracking in place. One's on WooCommerce and one's on Shopify. So that's been really successful, and Glenn's been a big part of that. So it's giving me space to think about our strategic goals, making sure that we're aligned, and then when it comes to the technical delivery, the team fully understands the purpose and the need for this, and I have the space to think about things like this. And also, some of these products aren't clear-cut and simple. Like we had to trial a few different providers for server-side tracking, so there was a lot of back and forth and meetings, etc., and trialing different options, trying to make it as simple as possible. So that's one of the initiatives that we worked on. And the other thing is content. So content is something that is difficult to do if you don't have time. So LinkedIn content for one, I'm trying to be more active and more proactive in terms of my personal brand. So I'm able to grow that a bit more. And I think I've done that over the past 12 months. Still not quite where I want to be. So just trying to get that consistency up with the content production for ourselves. And then also the podcast that we've launched recently. That's been a major one, and we're able to get the whole team involved. So yeah, it's a few different things where you got space to think. Whereas if I didn't have a team in place, I'd just be thinking about delivery, and just trying to survive until the next month, which is not a great mental space to be in if you're just in survival mode. There's no mental space for growth opportunities.
Quick pause. If you're getting value from this conversation about scaling agencies and hiring top talent, I want to share something that might help you. Are you struggling to find A players for your digital marketing agency? We've got you covered. For SEO experts who turn rankings into revenue, head to SEOforhire.co. For paid media specialists who boost your bottom line, check out paidmediajobs.com. And if you're looking for foot rubs, you're definitely in the wrong podcast. All right, let's jump back into the episode. First of all, I agree. I think your personal brand's been great the last year. I've messaged you a few times. I see you pop up. I see Glenn pop up. And I think you sent me an article the other day, and I read it, and I was like, this is one of the best articles that I've read. Sent it to the rest of the team. So the content's gone through the roof. The podcast that you've done, I don't know what studio you're using, but it's unbelievable looking. But let's just touch on that for a minute, Kevin. So again, you just talked about the importance of content creation, especially as an agency owner and building the personal brand. You talked about doing the podcast. In an industry that's kind of just like obsessed with lead gen, there's still a kind of, that's the wrong word to say it. It's like, I was going to say, there's still a lot of people that look at content creation or people posting on LinkedIn and they kind of roll their eyes at it. And they're like, well, what's the point? Like, just let somebody like do their job type of thing. So let's just talk about that so far. So you've, focused on your personal brand in the last year. What kind of benefits have you seen from that so far?
Yeah, it's difficult to get a direct correlation sometimes, when you are building your personal brand. And it's something that's said a lot, but it certainly compounds over time. And I fully realized this when we had a big pitch at the tail end of last year. So what happened with that is I attended a conference, and in the conference, there's this big WhatsApp group, and then some people share their LinkedIn profile. So I shared my LinkedIn profile, somebody connected with me, and I didn't message them, nothing happened, no interaction between us. And out of the blue, they just DM me on LinkedIn saying, hey, there's this brand, do you do this kind of service? And I said, yeah. And then, oh, cool, I'll introduce you to them, just like that. And it was a massive, massive brand. And it would have been one of our biggest clients if we signed them. Unfortunately, we didn't in the end. We were up against, I think, 5-6 other agencies. But those kind of opportunities just coming out of nowhere is a result of somebody connecting with me, looking at what I'm posting probably and thinking, okay, these guys seem credible, and then getting in touch with you. So those kind of opportunities are rare, but it's an example of something that can happen from that. And also, I think just in general, just people that we speak with, there's positive comments around the podcast. I think that's been a huge success in terms of how good the quality's been. Clients sometimes mention it, and some people that we just speak to just come across, they seem to look at us a bit more seriously because we've got something at such a high production value. So yeah, it's I think it just speaks to it speaks to how you work, I think. And there's that saying, I know it's a cliche, but how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you take care of your personal brand and you do it really effectively, then surely that will translate into how much you care about the work that you deliver. Of course, some people may not have parity between the personal brand and the actual work that they deliver, but I do believe if somebody is consistent with something, they're certainly consistent with other things in their life.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like as well, like obviously you want the quality of everything that you put out to be like 10 out of 10, but literally the example that you gave, a potential client comes and clicks on your LinkedIn, right? That's kind of like your storefront window. They go through, they see you've got a YouTube channel or wherever the podcast is hosted, they press that, and like they don't have to spend however long the podcasts are, 45 minutes watching it. But just going onto the YouTube and seeing that you've got, I don't know, 20, 30 videos where you've spent the time with your team to talk about their problems that they want solved. So like SEO, LLM, whatever it is that they want done. It's like, to me, one of the biggest like strength factors of like, okay, these guys like are actually spending the time doing it. And yeah, I personally just think it's a no-brainer. And then as well, the bit you said about the WhatsApp group and then the company booking in with you, I feel like it takes one, I like to call them lurkers. So they're people that have never interacted with any of your posts, and they're like, you'll jump on a call with them and they're like, oh yeah, I've been following your stuff for a while, like I've seen this. And it takes one of them, in my opinion anyway, to just motivate you to like post every single day, put out the content as much as you can. Because again, like one of those deals can genuinely change the course of your business. And I remember way back, in fact, I remember a friend was they were rinsing me about posting on LinkedIn. This must have been like 3.5, 4 years ago. And I went to Lake Garda, and I got up at 6 a.m. and I was doing work on my laptop, and I had the company website. I had a photo of like the mountains and the lake at Lake Garda, and I put it up, and it was a post about remote working. It got like 120,000 impressions when LinkedIn used to just like things take off. But 6 discovery calls got booked in, and one of them was Sage, which is like one of the biggest software companies in the world. And to this day, we use that as like one of our big whales when we're talking about like somebody says like, do we do software? Do we do like finance side? We're like, oh, well, we've got like Sage as a client of ours. So like it took me just that one bite to now, like, yeah, fast forward, like I think I post every single day. I try and get as much YouTubes as I can out, like everything. But yeah, one post can genuinely change the course of your business.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that Sage moment. so if you got any tips, I'm certainly going to double down on YouTube. I've noticed that's a platform that's underrated. So yeah, like you're saying, different types of content, explaining their problems, solving them through video. It kind of like removes the need for a deep discussion in the meeting, because if they watch one of those videos, they'll understand, okay, this is how they work, etc. So yeah, I'm definitely doubling down on that, like for sure. And then hopefully, after 12 months, we'll see something fruitful from that.
Yeah. And even when it comes to YouTube, like the amount of repurposing that you can do on that, like it's not just you're taking a YouTube video, putting it up there. But again, we had Ross Simmons on the podcast, what's his phrase? He's got a book, create once, distribute forever. And it's like the whole thing is like you can just turn one piece of content into like genuinely 100 different pieces. But what we found super valuable is if we're creating like an educational piece or like something to learn from on a YouTube video rather than like a podcast, that we can use it in our nurture funnels. We can use it like anytime I'm on a client discovery call and somebody mentions it, it's like, oh, we've actually got like a video for that. Like I'll send it to you like after, if you want to just scan through it, you don't have to. And it just similar to what I said, it just adds so much authority. Just the fact that you've spent 15, 20 minutes talking about the topic that somebody will be asking about. Yeah, again, no brainer to me.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to be working on. So yes, we've got the nice podcast set up at a professional studio, but that's time and money. So I'm going to be investing in a little home studio setup. Just get some lighting set up and a good mic, and I'm going to be creating a lot more YouTube content, trying to solve client problems, going through case study walkthroughs, etc., just to try and say exactly what we do and how we do it, because it's very difficult to articulate that on like a short LinkedIn post or whatever on a website. So yeah, YouTube is really powerful for that.
Exactly. And you mentioned so you had a client discovery call last month and didn't particularly go the way that you wanted to. And again, in a world on LinkedIn where everything is shouting about big wins and stuff, everybody goes through things like these. And I feel like it really shows the character of basically trying to take the lesson from that. So one of my favorite books is Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. All about every obstacle is a win if you take it the right way. So from that, obviously it was a big client. We'd messaged about it and stuff. I was rooting for you, but you guys didn't get it. What did you learn from the pitch? What are you going to, what did you guys learn from it?
Yeah, there's a few things I learned from it. One thing I learned is the energy that I brought the team. I could immediately see everyone's eyes light up and how engaged they were in the research and the pitching process, and how exciting it was as well for a massive brand to be talking to us. It was a Series A funded SaaS business, and they were trying to get to Series B. So yeah, they wanted to grow aggressively. So it was a massive opportunity, and we saw massive growth opportunity as well with SEO. They had a great brand. You know, they were covering all the bases, and they just needed somebody to come in with a technical content strategy to really elevate them to the next level. So we saw such a huge opportunity with that. That could have been a mega client for us. We could have delivered amazing work for them. Unfortunately, you know, it didn't happen. But what I learned from that is our positioning needs tightening. The reason why we didn't get that deal is they felt that we weren't, or rather, they went with an agency that was more AI focused, or let's say AI specialist. I can't remember the terminology that they used, but it made me think, well, hang on a minute, we are AI, you know, thinking. We deliver. A lot of our work does translate into AI search, into geo, you know, whatever you want to call it. So it just made me think, okay, all right, we need to tighten up on this, and maybe we need to speak up a bit more about this, because we've been sitting on the fence for a long time. Well, personally, because I've always felt that AI has been overhyped, and you know, you're seeing all the big CEOs come out as well. I think Sam Altman was quoted saying that AI is definitely there's a lot of AI startups that are overvalued in the market, and there's going to be a huge correction happening at some point. Who knows when that's going to happen? But I think in general, in marketing as well, it seems like AI is massively overhyped. One of the events that I was attending actually was it's a massive event, massive tech event in Lisbon, and every startup there had AI attached to it. Like, it was just like, okay, how are you explaining your offer without mentioning AI? It's like nobody can anymore. But I guess that's the startup world, and that's the SaaS world. And I think having that loss, you know, when it came to the deal, you know, why we didn't win it, it made me realize, and you kind of said it as well, that there is this focus on AI, and it's a tick box. If you don't have it in there, they're just not going to pick you. So as a agency provider, if you're not the one who's positioned in that space, I think they're just not going to pick you. And it made me realize, okay, then maybe, yeah, it just made me think a lot about our positioning, whether, okay, if we do want to work with these companies, then we're going to have to go all in on AI and be positioned in that way. Otherwise, they're just not going to pick us. They'll pick another agency who's positioned that way. So yeah, it made me think about that, and maybe the types of clients that we should be going after. So yeah, that's what I've learned from it. And yeah, it's a good, humbling lesson about positioning, and you know, why you might lose a deal, even though you're fully capable to deliver the work, and maybe more capable than others. If you're not aligned with what the client needs and what they're asking for from a positioning standpoint and a messaging standpoint, you know, you might just not get it.
Yeah, and again, I replied to you when you told me about it. It feels so cringy to try and have to mold to something because of that. Like, it sucks. But yeah, especially these VC companies, I feel like it's just, they've got a tick box. It's like, right, how many times did they mention AI? That's like the type of thing. Whereas it used to be, you go on a client discovery call, you kind of like answer a few questions they've got, you show that you've done good work, you show the case studies, and that's normally like it. Whereas now it's like, well, what are you guys doing with AI? What are you doing? And it was similar. My O1 visa that I'm trying to get to the US is like, you have to, it's a pretty crazy visa, but you have to like show that you've got extraordinary ability, is what it's like called. So, you know, going on the podcast, speaking at events, writing books, like that sort of stuff. But again, like, that used to be enough, and now they're bringing in like, well, what are you actually doing within like AI within your business? Like, what are you doing on this? And it's so cringy. Like, I had to get sign-offs from these industry experts who luckily were like my friends, like a few, like Nick Eubanks and a few other, where I was like, just don't read the letter that I've wrote. Just trust me on it. But it was like, Josh is the only person that could create this because of the proprietary data and match with AI capability. It was so bad. But it's like, that's what you kind of have to do now to like, it's crazy. And like, you've seen it as well. Everybody's changing from like SEO agency to AEO agency, GEO agency. It's everywhere. And similar to what you said about going to an event, I was at an event in London. I can't remember what it was called, in June or July, and it was some of the biggest brands like Aviva, like biggest brands that are testing out. Like there's people talking about testing like 20 million within like AI and stuff, and everybody in that room, Kevin, still had no idea what was going on. They were just like, we're all just experimenting. And it was so nice to like get off LinkedIn and like just be in a room with like 100 people that are like trying to do the best they can. And it was literally, it was like, doesn't matter what size budget, doesn't matter where they came from. We're still just trying to figure out, like, nobody has like the full on answer. Which why I thought was very inspiring.
Yeah, I've had the same experience. There's a SEO roundtable that's organized by Rudy in Nottingham, and he gets like all the SEO specialists to come together. It's really cool, and it's sponsored by Majestic. And yeah, it was quite insightful to hear really experienced SEOs kind of saying the same thing that you're saying, that nobody has the answer. They're still figuring out. So it's quite refreshing being in those rooms versus going onto social media where everyone's saying, I've got the answer, come to me, you know, I'll help you appear in ChatGPT and all that stuff and give you all these promises. So that's the thing that you're seeing on social media, and clients are seeing it too, especially with there's a lot of people who do like these giveaways on LinkedIn, and you know, the lead magnets.
Yeah. And
sometimes you see, you know, some of your maybe prospects or clients commenting, you know, asking for these resources. So like clearly you can see like that's the market. You know, people are being fed that we can get you into these places. It feels like SEO's gone backwards, you know, like, oh, I'll get you number 1 ranking, you know, when that was the message. It's the same old sales tactic, but it's just been replaced with GEO or ChatGPT. So yeah, nothing changes. It's nothing new under the sun.
And Kevin, my last question for you is, now that you've got a strong team in place, you've got a great podcast, you're building on that personal brand, what's new for you in 2026? What's the goal?
What's new for us? Being consistent and growing the podcast into something that's a bit more established. So we're still filming the first season. This is why I'm kitted up like this. I'm not like this every day. So we had a podcast shoot today. We had a really good guest on. And yeah, we did a couple of internal episodes today as well. And yeah, just being consistent with that. So the first season for me is all about trying to get at least 8 to 10 guests. And once that season is complete, I think the Beyond SEO message will make a lot more sense. Because at the minute you're just seeing, you know, 1 episode here, 1 episode there. But once you see the full body of the podcast, I think it's going to make a lot more sense. And then is positioning ourselves again. You know, like I said, you know, I learned from that experience where we didn't get that deal. We need to really say what we do, why we do it, and why brands should pick us. So that's the key thing I'm focused on, just being a bit more intentional around our messaging. So we're going all in on this Beyond SEO mantra, and we want to be known as the Beyond SEO agency in 2026. So we really want to own that space and create that space as our own. So that's the key thing I'm focusing on. And of course, that means growing our client base and yeah, working with exciting brands.
Awesome. I love it. And I'll put all the links below so they can find you, but where can they find you, Kevin?
Best place is probably LinkedIn. I'm active on there. So I'll definitely message you back if you do DM me. And yeah, just yeah, find me anyway. Just Google me. There's not many Kapezis out there, so I'm not hard to find.
Awesome. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're an agency owner that is wanting to scale and wants to continue bringing your business to new heights and doesn't want to put everything on pause for hiring and finding the best talent that's out there in SEO and paid media, well, that's something I can help with. I own a recruitment company that has specialized in both the SEO and paid media sector, and we work with 100+ businesses. So I'm going to leave 2 links below. There's no big pitch here, but if you want to talk over strategy and hiring and how myself and my team can find you the best A-player talent in both the SEO and paid media sector, then please book in, and I look forward to talking to you. Thank you.